a Galaxy Man Show interview show. So for my very first guest of this week is this incredible singer and songwriter known by the name of Chloe. So I'm about to add Chloe into the live now to have a chat with Chloe about her incredible music. So yeah, let's add Chloe in and have a chat with Chloe. Hi
Hi,
Chloe, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. I just want to say first up, thank you so much, Chloe, for taking the time to join my show. It's such a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you.
For people that don't know who you are, if you can give like a bit of backstory about who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
So I am a singer-songwriter and producer. I write under the name Cal and Co. And this year I really started releasing my own music and doing it all myself. I was born in America, but I have grown up in London and I'm still based here. Hence the slightly weird accent.
You don't have a
But
list.
yeah, so yeah.
Oh, cool. So on to my very next question. So we'll dive right into the questions. So you've created numerous of incredible songs, and for the very first song that I'll mention, Three Alarms, truly incredible. What was it
Thank
like
you.
getting to create Three Alarms in the first place, and like what's the whole meaning behind Three Alarms?
Well, Three Alarms is a song that I wrote when the UK went back into lockdown the third time. There was definitely a sense of history repeating itself. And above all, I had a lot of time to spend at home and write, record, produce it on my own. So I'd just come back from a slightly failed stint as an au pair in Paris, and I think my mental health was not that great, probably also because of COVID. And I know that a lot of my friends and other people were experiencing kind of a similar thing. So Three Alarms is about accepting that sometimes life is kind of crazy and not that great. I think we've all seen that in the past year. But there's nothing we can do about it except for, find solidarity with other people. It is very much a pandemic song. So maybe I've created something that will last. I hope so. Musically, it's supposed to be very 90s alternative rock inspired. I also had recently bought an electric guitar, so this was the first song that really allowed me to experiment with that. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed making it. It's definitely been the most fun one so far.
So on to our very next question. So you have also created this other incredible song called Lemonades. It's called Lessons. What was it like getting to create Lessons, this incredible other EP song that you've created?
Well, Lessons is actually an interesting one because it's an album, but it was the first thing I released because in the first lockdown a year ago, I set myself kind of a goal that I would write this and record this whole album and release it all at once. In hindsight, I kind of wish I'd done a bit more promotion, maybe released some singles since it's my biggest body of work, but I didn't know that. I'd never done anything like this before. So that was really, it was a great experience. I mean, I wrote all of it. I started writing it in the 2 years before, but it's actually a concept album, which you might not know on first listen, but it tells the story of a relationship in order. So that it's slightly from personal experience, but there is also a bit of artistic license in there. But it did help me kind of process my breakup. But the biggest aspect I would say is that I learned to produce with that album. It's entirely recorded using GarageBand, which I've progressed since then. Now I use Logic and Pro Tools. So listening back, there are definitely some things I would change. Actually, I'm planning on remastering everything because I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but it was really fun. So yeah, that's what Lessons is.
Awesome. So on to our very next question. So you've also created another incredible EP song called Pink Lemonade. What was it like coming up with the idea of wanting to create Pink Lemonade in the first place, and what's the meaning behind it?
Well, Pink Lemonade is my attempt at a song of the summer. So far, our weather here is not very summer-like, so hasn't really, I don't know, we've got a month left. Maybe it'll take off. But it was directly inspired by my experiences in London last summer because usually I spend 6 weeks in the States seeing my family. So with the pandemic, that was really my first experience of being in the city during the summer. So I spent a lot of time in various like parks and stuff because everything else was closed. And I thought the way that, you know, you could go somewhere and all the young people were there together doing the same thing, listening to music on their Bluetooth speakers. I wanted to write a song that was about that, but also could be played by one of those groups of people listening to music on their speakers. So yeah, it really has a dual focus of summer and London. I'm very attached to my home. So yeah.
Awesome. So on to our next question. So you've also created another incredible EP song called Questions. Such an incredible song. What was it like getting to create Questions, and what's like the meaning behind Questions?
So Questions is the second song off of Lessons, the album. But I re-released it this year because I felt like I hadn't done enough like single type promotion. I actually wrote it in 2018, like in its full state, and it's about the very beginnings of a relationship when it's really fun and happy and you just really want to get to know somebody. Um, I performed it with the band that I was in for a long time in 2019, but still, I wasn't hearing the musical stuff being realized the way I wanted it to. So when I got to produce it myself, that was so fun because I played all of the instruments in the song. So I kind of I recorded one track at a time, basically. So it was like I could be the whole band. So everything is exactly how I wanted it. And that was really, really fun. There's a kind of psychedelic guitar solo at the end, which is definitely inspired by music I had been listening to when I was recording it in the first lockdown, which was a lot of the Grateful Dead. um, but there are actually two guitars at once at the end of the song, and that's just because I recorded 2 takes of the solo that I liked, and then they happened to fit together really well, so they're just both there. But yeah, musically, that's definitely, I think that's my favorite song off the album. So yeah, it was really fun. It was a great experience.
I'll tell you our next question. So what made you decide as a person, and especially as an artist standpoint, that you wanted to get into music in the first place? And who would be like inspirational person or music artist that you look up to in the music industry?
Well, I'm actually classically trained as a musician. I've been studying piano since I was 6, and I've played in various orchestras, and I'm going to study music at university. So it's always been a huge part of my life. I grew up listening. There's always a radio playing in the house. Um, when I was in primary school, I joined a Saturday club called Kids in Rock. And it was basically a band of kids my age, like 9-year-olds, playing exclusively 80s tribute songs. So a lot of Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, that kind of stuff. And that definitely taught me a lot that I know about chord progressions and song structure in a less academic setting. And that got me into songwriting. I don't think I would be the songwriter I am today if it wasn't for having had that experience. So maybe you could say Bon Jovi, but anyone that knows me will also know that for a while I went through a phase of wanting to be Taylor Swift. um, she was a huge inspiration to me, and actually I focused on country music from about the ages of 11 to 15. I went around doing little open mics with my acoustic guitar and singing bad country songs that I'd written, all about love, even though obviously I was 12. I had no idea what that was. So yeah, I guess Taylor Swift is probably the biggest inspiration to me. But my parents, my mom really, like, she didn't push me, but she made it very clear that it was something I could pursue. So yeah.
Sounds like our next question. So what does performing music mean to you, like especially as an artist?
I love to perform. I love to watch the audience kind of get into what they're listening to. And I've lately started performing my own music at gigs and a bit of open mics and things like that. But I've been performing classically for a long time. I played harp in a few different orchestras. So you'd think I'd be used to the stage fright, but I'm not. I get very nervous. Um, I struggle a little bit with stage presence, I think, but I'm hoping that will come to me. But the experience of performing, it's just being, that's the point of music, is for other people to listen to it. And you get to have a more personal connection with your listener when you're playing to them in real life, as opposed to having them stream your songs.
On to our very next question. So, if you could work with any top 3 music artists in the industry, who would they be and why?
So, firstly, I think I would love to work with Annie Clark. She writes under St. Vincent, because she's an amazing artist in her own right. Especially, I'm in love with her new album. I love it so much. But she also is, like, she works with lots of other artists. She is a songwriting credit on a lot of Olivia Rodrigo's album, for example. I don't think anyone else could find something to rhyme with subpoenaed besides her. So she's really talented. I'd love to work with her. Secondly, Conor Oberst. He's also known as Bright Eyes, and I think I've been listening to him for such a long time that it would just be such an amazing experience to meet someone that I look up to. And his lyricism, it's almost like poetry, and I'd love to work on that for myself. So that would be interesting. Jack Antonoff, I would say. Everyone says that, but he works with in so many different styles. I mean, just in Taylor Swift's catalog, he produced a lot of Reputation and Lover, which are pop albums, but then all of her 2 most recent folk kind of oriented albums. So his reach and talent is amazing. He can do anything he puts his mind to. So, but if I worked with him, I think it would be more of a like apprenticeship situation rather than him producing my stuff. Like, I'd love to know what he knows.
Yes. Awesome. So on to our very next question. So what have you learned about yourself as a person and especially as an artist, like during COVID?
I mean, COVID's taught me that it's really important to be able to spend time alone, like not in a lonely way, but in a being comfortable with yourself kind of way. I think as a person, that's helped me be more introspective, which is reflected in my lyrics. It's also taught me to value my time because
You kind of cut out. Yeah. Yeah, you can't. We can't hear you. We you can't. We can't hear you. I'll add her back in. It's all good. We'll get her back in. I don't know what happened there, but it's all good. We'll get her back in. Don't worry, everyone. Here we go.
what happened there is I have a time limit set for Instagram and it decided to show up in the middle of our interview.
Technology.
Should we move on to the next question?
I don't think we got the what you were saying before. So
Oh yeah, the time stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't have had time to do everything I'm doing now in before COVID. I had school all day and I did 1,000 extracurriculars, and I think having time to sit back and spend my hours doing this has shown me I need to, in the future, set aside time for it. But yeah, that's what COVID has taught me.
On to our very next question. So what's like the positive and negatives into creating your own music, and how do you get through those like negative moments as an artist?
One thing about doing it yourself is you don't have to deal with, I mean, I've never had a record label speaking to me, but you don't have to deal with pleasing them and doing what they want to do. It's all down to your own opinions and ideas. the music industry is a crazy place, but it's changing. I mean, it's definitely easier now for indie artists to promote themselves. Um, Social media is more important than ever, and in some ways I consider that to be a little bit of a negative because I find social media a little bit overwhelming. It feels a bit like a popularity contest at times, and it's gotten to the point where sometimes I feel that the artist's image is almost not more important than their work, but equally important, especially when you're starting out. But I get over that by, just reminding myself that the music is what matters, and that's what I'm good at. So I hope it'll work out.
So on to our very last question. So what's like next for you for the rest of 2021, like music wise, that you would like to announce on the show?
I've got a gig on Friday the 6th of August, so any people who are in England, feel free to come. There's actually a link in my Instagram bio with tickets. I've got a few songs lined up. I'm considering releasing an EP in winter, and a song called Ethereal should be coming out in September. But definitely the biggest project will be remixing and mastering Lessons. It's a huge body of work. Well, to me, a big body of work. And I think their current states don't really reflect how good the songs are. I need to definitely go through and fix those. But I'm also going to university in October, so I'm hoping to find a band. So my music that I play live hopefully will evolve to be more group oriented. So yeah, I want to do a bit more of my radio show as well.
That's cool. So thank you so much, Chloe, for taking the time to join my show, having you on the show. Everyone, definitely go support Chloe and her incredible music. Chloe has so much talent and such a gift ahead of herself. She really does. Do you have like any last final thoughts that you'd like to say to people on the show?
Well, I'd like to say to anyone that does listen to my music, thank you so much. I mean, right now it's not that many people, but it means that every single person that does matters. I can see it. It makes me feel it's amazing that anyone would actually care what I have to say besides my close friends. Um, and to you, thank you so much for having me on the show. I mean, what
Very
an
well.
amazing opportunity. I'd love to do this again.
You're very welcome on the show anytime, Chloe. Well, stay safe and yeah, keep up the amazing work with your incredible music.